So last time we have an automation like the batch files to run and launch this on this server, and now we're going to test a different approach, which is to launch the page from a template instead of a static page. So in example 3, so what I did is that when I launch the home page, it's gonna present this, which are static HTML code. But I want to display the dynamic code. Suppose that I load some data, I want to render the data instead of showing this static code. So I will need a template. So the template is sort of having the same layout, but each time it's gonna present different data. All right, so the first thing is that I'm gonna copy this example 3 and paste it as example 4. Okay, yeah. So and I need to change the environment setting to example 4 as well. So by now, actually, I have this example 4 exactly is the same as example 3. So I can run this, and you will see that the page rendered here is exactly the same as in example 3. Okay, so I'm gonna close that one. So now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to do some surgery in this example 4. The first is that I'm going to delete this page 1 and page 2 because I'm not going to need that. So the normal, the modern way of rendering the page is not like in the past that you create a bunch of different pages, you know. So the modern way is like you only have one page, and you're going to bring the contents to the page. It's just like a stage, you know. You can decorate the stage, you can change the contents, but there is only one stage. So really, I don't need much page. I only need the first page, and that's it. Okay. All right. So this will be the first thing I'm going to change. So accordingly, so going back now, I don't need to like import the modules from this page 1, page 2, py because I'm not going to have it. All right. So the rest of that is pretty much the same, but here, instead of returning the static code, I'm going to returning something else. Okay. So to return something, I need to not only import this flask, but also import a function called a render template. So this method will be used later to return something. So accordingly, I'm going to render something here. Okay. So the rendering contents will be from a template. Let's call that, I'm going to suppose that I'm going to have an index package, index HTML as the template. That one has not been created, but let's imagine that it has been created. So I'm going to do it like that. So that way it is connected. It's going to import the method called the render template, and then it's going to return the rendered template into this home page. So now the only thing is missing here is that I need to have this indexed HTML. So what I do is that by default, if you create a folder called templates, and you put this index.htm inside, then Flask will automatically search the folder templates and find this index. Okay, so we're gonna have a standard HTML. Let's say that this is the template. Let's say this is the template of the let's just say that it is the main page, and this is so we're gonna have a title and say this is the template. and that's it. So now, so what I have done here is that in this initial py, I have imported this method, and later I use this method to render the contents in this index.html, and then I created a folder called templates, which is by default Flask will recognize and will search for a file called index.html, and it's going to render the contents into the home page. Okay, so with that, now let's start it again and see how it is going to look like. Yeah, so now it is going to read the template files, and then it's going to render the data into the home page. Okay, so just to clarify, it is not visiting this index.html. That one is just a template. So what it does here is that it's going to render the contents from that page and render it into the route, like whatever I put it here. It can be index, it can be main, as I specified here. It will be the same. So it's going to show this thing. So this is the difference, and don't get confused. This is just a template. So I'm going to stop the server and close this page. But think about that. So that one is, despite that. It sounds handy, but it is not good enough, because in this example 4, actually, or ideally, I would like to create a folder called front page, or front end. So basically, this is to present the data on web pages. Right? So inside, I'm going to combine, because it is a web page, I'm going to have those applications. For example, I'm going to have the JavaScript applications. All right? So in addition, I'm going to have these called the web page templates. Yeah. So that would be the place that I want to put the templates in. So that later with this JavaScript files, with this templates, I don't have to put them into one folder, because that's going to be very messy. Right? So by doing so, that actually I have to move this index.html into that web template page, so that later I'm gonna render the templates from that folder instead of the default templates folder. So if I were to do so, then I have to go back to this init document. Yeah, where is it? Too much files. I'm just gonna close that. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this init py, and I'm gonna make some settings there. So actually in this Flask, so when I create an instance for this Flask, so instead of having all the variable names, I can also specify a variable called the template folder. So this folder will direct it to the customized folder. In my case, it will be this one, right? So let's say that we're going to have a variable to represent the folder there. Okay, so I'm going to put it here. So one of the way is to have the hard code. So I can copy the path, and then I can render it here. So just put it as a string into this part. That's going to work. But that is not cool, right? So because it is dynamic, it's better that I can use the parameters and determine where this folder is. Well, so to determine this folder, so the first is that we are gonna have a package called OS. All right. So by the way, the detail methods is introduced here, but so if you were interested, you can go there and read the thread, but it is not entirely correct. Anyway, so we're gonna import this OS. The next is that we're going to use this line to get the absolute folder. So an absolute folder is like the one start from C drive, for example. It is the complete folder. So it is in as opposed to the relative folder, which start from the current folder. So the first is that we're going to have this absolute folder, or the path, where the flask server was started. So remember that when we're going to start the server, we're going to start from this Python folder. So actually that part represent this part. Okay, so this will be the way to, it's very complicated, but this will be the way to get that part of the folder. And by the way, in Python, the folder, the string of the folder, indeed, that for this backslash, it is going to change that to double backslash, just to explain, escape that. Because you know that in Python, like if you have a \t, it has a special meaning. It means like pressing a tab key, that you're going to have 4 spaces, right? So for this pass, actually, it has normalized that by sorry, it's not a normalized. It's like it has escaped those backslash with double backslash. That's how it does. Okay, but that's not good enough. So my approach is always to play safe. I'm going to replace this backslash with /, because that will be the typical way for us to get the pass name, and it works for all the system, the modern system like Windows or Linux or whatever. So now we know that this is the absolute path of this part. So to point to this web page templates, we're gonna add the rest of the path parts, which is starting from this py /x and an example 4, whatever. So that will be this part, and it goes to the page templates. All right. So all of these combining together will be the path, the absolute path of the HTML templates. So it's going to go inside. All right. And this one will be used to define the template path in this app flags instance. So with that, now the system knows that, okay, I know it. You're gonna use that as the template instead of the default template. And notice that now in this templates, the default template, I don't have any of the index file, but I have moved it to the customized path. And I'm going to change that here just to illustrate when I launch the page, you're going to see the difference. So I'm going to change that to the template from customized path, from a customized path. Okay. All right. So now let's run it again. See that now it is going to render this the template from this customized path. Because now I have that customized path, so I don't need this template path. So I'm going to delete it. Okay, so basically that is the way to render the contents from a template instead of using the hard code.